Welcome to the Arun Church podcast, where our mission is bringing life to everyone, everywhere, every day. Each podcast episode features the latest talk from our church, which are released weekly. We're passionate about Jesus, love to worship together, and are committed to changing our community for the better. Connect with us at arunchurch.com.
Good morning, everybody. Everybody present and with me? Yeah? Good. Thank you. Appreciate it. So this morning I'm going to continue on our series on roots and wings, and you can see our beautiful picture there. I was talking to somebody this week about the topic roots and wings, and why we're doing this topic, and what does it mean. And we were just kind of discussing that roots are something that need to be healthy and good. And in order for us to grow, our roots need to be good quality and growing in the right places. And then if our roots and foundations are good, only then can we then soar into what God has for us. Only then, when we're in a place of being solid and safe and healthy and secure, then can we soar. So you might have, if you've been here the last few weeks and been listening to the kind of topics we've done, well, what's my name? What's my story? How do I feel? And today we're looking at how do I see myself? These aren't necessarily topics that you have very often on a Sunday morning. You might have never heard us have a whole talk about feelings on a Sunday morning, or have a whole talk about how I see myself on a Sunday morning. And so I just really want to encourage you in this time, let's do the digging, let's do the hard work, because how many of us know that looking at roots, digging deep and looking inside yourself, unearthing things that maybe we haven't thought about for a long time, or maybe we haven't focused on for a while, it can be uncomfortable. You can get a bit messy. It can be really hard work. If you're digging deep, it's hard work. But I want to encourage you to go there in yourself, and not just let Sunday mornings pass you by, but actually anything that we say that maybe you don't agree with, or maybe something that says that just sits in your head and bothers you, or maybe something that's said that makes you just think, that just brings up a feeling or an emotion. I just really want to encourage you to hang on that and be curious about that, and take that into your week. And in your week, be saying to God, why has this stood out to me? Why is this bothering me? Why is that triggering me in some way, God? Help me unearth that, God. Speak to me, God, about what that is that's just kind of sitting in my thinking. So I want to just encourage you, be curious. As we're continuing roots and wings, any things that are standing out, be curious and take that to God and say, God, what's this about? Why is this? Why am I dwelling on this? Or why is this irked me? Or why is this making me feel uncomfortable? So today we're looking at how do I see myself? So that is having a healthy self-worth. I spoke to the young people a few months ago now about healthy self-worth or self-esteem, and it was really good fun. I told them some really cringy stories. You guys are here about when I was a teenager and all the awkward, embarrassing, horrible things you do when you're a teenager, when you feel so uncomfortable in your skin and everything just feels a bit uncomfortable. And when I was a teenager, I remember vividly feeling, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not clever enough, or only if I was just a little bit funnier, or maybe if I was a bit braver or a bit bolder, or maybe if I was like that person, or maybe if I had that talent. And all of these things were right on the surface when I was a teenager. I felt them all every day. I felt sometimes uncomfortable, and sometimes I felt brave, and sometimes I felt totally embarrassed or ashamed or awkward. And when I was talking to the teenagers about all of these feelings that I had, I realized that wasn't teenage me. That is me, but I have learnt to just bury those feelings deep. When you're a teenager, you feel it outwardly. You're working it out in your arguments, in your thinking, in your friendships, in your relationships. But as an adult, I've learnt to be more like a swan and just kind of stay a bit calmer, but still, all of that stuff is still there in me. So I thought, we need to talk about this at church. When I was talking to the teenagers, I was like, this is for you, but this is for us. This is for us. We have still got all of this stuff about self-worth going on in us. So what are signs of low self-worth? When I looked it up, it was saying people have low self-worth if they're overly critical of themselves, if they downplay positive qualities, if they feel inferior among others, or if they regularly use negative words to describe themselves. So if any of those are things that you think that you do, just hold on to that. And sometimes I find it really hard on a Sunday morning to apply it into my life. But hold it into your week, and anything that you say that you think, actually, that was a bit critical of myself, or actually, I'm downplaying myself there. Just remember this and apply it then. A few years ago, I had a bit of a revelation, and I was thinking of whether to say this or not, because I think this might trigger some people, but that's okay. I said it's okay to be triggered. I had a realization a few years ago, and I have never forgotten it, that Jesus wasn't selfless. Jesus wasn't selfless. I had spent my whole life trying to be selfless because I thought Jesus was selfless. I had been told so many times, Jesus is selfless, Jesus is selfless. And constantly I had tried and strived to be selfless. And in doing so, I had made myself unkind to myself. I had been unkind and unloving towards myself because I was constantly trying to be selfless. But actually, Jesus wasn't selfish and he wasn't selfless. Jesus was the perfect example of how to be a whole self. Jesus did the most selfless act when he gave his life for us. But Jesus knew when to give out to the crowds, when to be present, when to pray, when to share, when to exhaust himself. But Jesus also knew when he needed to retreat. Jesus looked after himself and kept himself healthy because he was the perfect example of looking after himself. He gave and he retreated. He spent quality time with friends in deep relationship. He spent quality time with God, and he also spent time giving to others. Jesus did it all in the perfect balance. And I've always remembered that instead of holding on to the mantra of I have to be selfless, I have to actually be the perfect, well-rounded self. Henry Nouwen is a Dutch priest, and he says, self-rejection is the greatest enemy of the spiritual life because it contradicts the sacred voice that calls us the beloved. So when we aren't kind to ourselves, when we don't look at ourselves in a healthy, well-rounded way that is of worth, we can't live in rhythm with God, because God, the sacred voice, called us beloved. So if we're not living like that, then our whole life is out of kilter because we're not living in pace with what God has called us and what God says we are. So how can we live in a healthy way? So I'm just going to look over a few things of how we can bring healthy self-worth into our day-to-day. So the first thing we need to do always is look to God for our validation. Look to God. We are God's divine handiwork, and he has created you individually, all of us individually, to reflect him. We are all designed intricately and known to reflect God. Genesis 1:26 says, then God said, let us make human beings so that they are like us. Let them rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky. Let them rule over the livestock and all the wild animals, and let them rule over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created human beings in his own likeness. He created them to be like himself. He created them male and female. So we need to look to God for validation, not to each other, not to other things, but to God, because God has said that he has made us like him. And not only that, he gave us responsibility. He trusted us that he gave us responsibility for the world, for all the things that's in that verse. We need to look to God for our purpose, for our worth, for our validation, because we are a reflection on him. The second thing to do to have a healthy self-worth is to increase our self-compassion. Mark 12 says, Jesus replied, "The most important commandment is this. Listen, O Israel, the Lord our God is the one and only Lord. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength." And the second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. So no other commandment is greater than loving God, loving each other, and loving yourself. How can you love your neighbor as yourself if you don't love yourself? How can you show love if you're not loving towards yourself? Do you have the words in your head that ring when you make a mistake? "Oh, you're so stupid. Why are you such an idiot? Why are you so pathetic? It's no wonder nobody likes you. It's no wonder everybody thinks you're such a joke." Do these words come into your mind when you make a little mistake? When you just do something that was just accidental? You need to speak to yourself. We need to speak to ourselves like you would speak to a friend. If your friend came and said, "I've done this," you'd say, "It's all right, you didn't know. You made a mistake, it's okay." Like, you would be reassuring and kind. And sometimes our words that we say to ourselves are the most harshest, cutting words. So this week, if you make a mistake, see what voice comes into your head. Is your voice harsh and critical? Is your voice, "Why are you so stupid? I can't believe you did that"? Or is your voice, "Never mind, that was a silly thing to do, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna sort it out"? Are you kind to yourself, or do you have an overcritical voice in your head? So secondly, we need to increase self-compassion. Thirdly, we need to separate what you do from who you are. What we do is important. It says in Genesis that we read that God gave us responsibility. It's important that we have responsibility. God told us to look after the earth and the fish and the animals and everything within it. We need responsibility. It's part of thriving as a human being. It's part of what God has put in our hands. We need responsibility, but what you do is not your worth. Max Lucado, the author, says, "You are valuable because you exist, not because what you do or have done, but simply because you are." How many of us are comfortable just sitting in that? Just sitting in that, knowing that you are truly invaluable and you are truly loved and you are truly worthy simply because you are. Not because you've achieved anything or done anything, not because you have this job or you have this role, but simply because God says you are, and so you are. We need to separate what we do from who you are. Fourthly, how we increase self-worth. We need to stop competing, stop comparing, and start connecting. I don't know about you, but when I start comparing myself to other people, or when I start thinking, well, they've got this, or they can do that, or they've achieved this, I distance myself from people. When I'm starting to feel critical of things, I take a step back. It happens in church family as well. When you start thinking, well, I'm not sure I agree about that, or I'm not sure I like that, or I'm not sure that that person should be doing that, or that person should be doing that, we take a step back. And the more that we critique, the further and further away we get. So the counter response to that is to connect. When I'm feeling like I'm comparing myself with somebody, I put them over there, away from me. But when I step towards them and say, can we have a chat? Is there anything I can do for you? Is there anything I can help you with? Can I be with you? Can I hang out with you? It makes them a person again, a person who I can love and see their good qualities and their bad qualities, and makes me stop comparing and competing and start being compassionate towards them again. The more we distance ourselves, the more critical we get. So guys, I'm encouraging us all to step into relationships, step into connecting with people, step into church. Don't disconnect. If you're feeling that criticalness in you, if you're feeling like you are comparing or competing, start connecting. And finally, to develop a healthy self-worth, you need to develop a positive mindset. So in psychological thinking, they're saying having a positive mindset and being resilient and having a resilient sense of self-worth is a foundation for good mental health, for personal growth, and for general well-being. So in psychological thinking, they're saying a positive mindset has an impact on all areas of your life. But we already know that from Philippians 4 verse 8. We know that it says, I haven't got this one written down, keep your thoughts continually fixed on all that is authentic and real, honourable and admirable, beautiful and respectful, pure and holy, merciful and kind. And fasten your thoughts on every glorious work of God, praising him always. The Bible always backs up what modern medicine tells us. The Bible already knew it ages ago. We're just catching up in modern day. But fixing your mind on what is good is essential. As I'm a midwife, and as part of my job, I teach hypnobirthing. And hypnobirthing is about fixing your mind on what is positive. And we talk about an iceberg. So whatever you think consciously, so the tip of the iceberg is just a tiny, tiny bit. So in terms of birth talk, you might have never, ever given birth, never thought about giving birth until maybe you're pregnant and have to do it. And so we think about, do you know what? You have been alive for however many years. In all of that time, you have subconsciously washed your brain with whatever mantra or information is out there. However many films you've seen of people screaming and howling, however many birth stories you've been told of excruciating pain and awful and blood and mess and all of this, that is your iceberg. And so what we need to do is we need to consciously focus your brain on positive and rewash it in positive information and truth and perspective and all of that in order to focus your thoughts. And once your brain is focused on that, your body gets in line with that. If your body is focused on fear and on negative and on bad things, your body gets in line with that. Your body responds to what your brain is telling it. If your brain is telling it, be fearful, be worried, be scared, guess what? Your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate, you're in fight or flight mode all the time. But if your focus is on what is good and positive and just pure and holy, and then your body responds to that. So guys, we need to be washing our brain in what is good. I'm just going to read this psalm over us in a minute because I want to wash our brain in what is good. I just want us to maybe just take some time. So maybe if the band start to make their way back up. I don't want this morning's talk to just wash over you and just be another Sunday morning talk that we walk out and then that's that. That's Sunday done, check, completed. I want us to encourage us to just be present and to just think and to just be open to unearthing some roots that might be that iceberg, that might be deep down. And that is when I was talking about let's be curious. Anything I've said today that you think, oh yeah, I do that, or I have a tendency to think that way, or I have a tendency to do that, just hold on to that and bring it to God. And I want to encourage you to take it into this week. Any of the things that I've said about, are you overcritical of yourself? Do you downplay your positive qualities? Do you feel inferior? Do you use negative words? When you make a mistake, what's your reaction? What's your response towards yourself? Do you talk to yourself like you talk to your friends? Do you talk about yourself in a good way? This week, as we're walking into this week, I just want you just to be thinking about that. And if anything comes up, then bring it before God. And saying to God, God, what's the root here? What's the iceberg here, God? I want to unearth this. I want to be a well-rounded, healthy person that looks to you for self-worth, that looks to you for validation, that doesn't look towards what I do or what I achieve, that doesn't strive but knows that I can just sit and not compare and compete, but I can sit knowing that you say I am loved, that you say I am worthy, that you say I'm valuable. You say that I'm a reflection of you, and I'm going to live my life like that. So I'm just going to read a psalm over us just as the music starts to play. And if you want to just close your eyes. Children, if you want to lie down on the floor and close your eyes and just listen, then you can just get comfortable. You formed my innermost being, shaping my delicate inside and my intricate outside. You wove them all together inside my mother's womb. I thank you, God, for making me so mysteriously complex. Everything you do is marvelously breathtaking. It simply amazes me to think about it. How thoroughly you know me, Lord. You formed every bone in my body when you created me in the secret place. Carefully, skillfully, you shaped me from nothing to something. You saw you created me to be before I became me. Before I'd even seen the light of day, the numbers of days you had planned for me were already recorded in your book. Every single moment you are thinking of me. How precious and wonderful to consider that you cherish me constantly in your every thought. Oh God, your desire towards me are more than the grains of sand on every shore. When I awake each morning, you are still with me. I want to just encourage you now to just grab your communion. And if you haven't got any, there's baskets at the front with it in. What we're going to do is we take communion to remember what Jesus did on the cross, to remember the sacrifice. And he did that in order so that we can have complete and whole relationship with God, that we can have access, that we can know him we can know him and feel all that God has in store for us. He has, on the cross, Jesus washed away everything so that we do not need to live with any baggage, with any things that have gone before, but we can bring it to God and say, thank you, God, that it is all dealt with. Thank you that you have taken my sins, you've taken my mistakes, you've taken away everything that I've ever done wrong, and I can have I have contact with you. I can have conversation and I can have connection with you. So we're just going to take the bread and the wine and just thank God that what Jesus did was enough for me to have whole worth and everything that God has for me. So we're just going to take a minute. Earlier in the worship, if you're not on the carpet, you probably can't see, but it's just a constant stream of toddlers trying to get to their dads. A constant stream of toddlers trying to get their dad's attention, waving at them, smiling at them, trying to get on the stage. And I just felt in my heart God saying that, like, it's beautiful, but God saying that's not how it is with me. That's not how it is with me. You don't need to try. You don't need to try and get my attention. I'm here and I'm ready for you with open arms. You just need to turn to me and I'm there. I am there for you. You don't need to strive or climb or try and achieve. I'm there, child. I'm there, kid. I see you and I love you. You don't need to be anything more apart from looking at me, looking at your daddy, and your daddy is ready. And so, church, we're going to sing a song together and we're going to move into our week. And I was just thinking, if anybody wants any prayer for anything, I'm happy to pray with you today, but I also want you to have a conversation with someone this week in your life pod. I want you to have a conversation with people who you share your life with. And I want you to ask questions as well, ask each other. Is there anything you're struggling with about the self-worth? Is there anything that you struggle with day to day with this? Let's talk about this. Let's pray about it. Find a Bible verse that washes your brain in what God says. What is the truth? And that can be your Bible verse that you read. And if you don't know how to find a Bible verse, come and ask. I will help you find a verse. Ask your life pod leaders. They will help you to find a verse. If you've got an app, the Holy Bible is brilliant. You literally just search self-worth or whatever you're feeling, and they will give you a daily reading for that. So if you're struggling to pray, if you're struggling to read your Bible, talk to someone. Come and talk to someone. Share with a person next to you. Come and talk to me, Joe, Becca, any of the team today. We would love to help you connect so that you can stay rooted and keep your focus on what is true. So let's just sing, let's just worship, and let's just take some time to think and to bring it all to God. Keep being curious, keep unearthing, let's keep looking at our roots, let's do the hard work.